Hey guys, welcome back to episode 6 of our OSINT series. Today we're going to explore email and username investigation. This is one of the more challenging and noisy areas of OSINT, but understanding it is extremely important because email addresses and usernames can sometimes become valuable starting points for building a person's public digital footprint. So let's start exploring email investigation and username finding. But before we move forward, I want to say one thing. If you haven't watched the previous episodes yet, I strongly recommend watching them first because we're building everything step by step, from the basics of OSINT and docking to social networks and online communities. And if you're enjoying the series, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I spend a lot of time researching these tools and techniques, testing them, and collecting useful resources so that you can learn them in a practical way. So your support really helps me continue making this series. Now, let's get started with today's OSINT investigation. Email investigation. When it comes to email investigation, we can't always depend on search engine docs. You might think that simply searching for an email address with a search engine should be enough to find the person behind it. But in many cases, that won't work. There are several reasons for this. An email address may never have been publicly indexed, the website containing it may block search engine indexing, or the information may simply not exist in publicly searchable pages. And even if you do find an email address, you still need to determine what it actually tells you. It could belong to an organization, a business, a public figure, a content creator, or another publicly identifiable entity. That's why email investigation shouldn't be treated as simply find an email, find the person. Instead, we need to think of an email address as a starting point for further investigation. This is where username investigation becomes useful. An email address may contain a username or identifier that could potentially appear on other publicly accessible services. By investigating those identifiers and then independently verifying the results, we can gradually build a more reliable picture of the public digital footprint associated with them. So let's try our first tool. First tool, find an email. The first tool we're going to explore is find an email. The basic idea is to use identifiers such as a username or company name to look for potentially associated email information. Let's try it practically. Open the website. emailsherlock.com. Now enter your target information. For this demonstration, we'll use blackhat.microsoft.com. Let's see what kind of results the tool provides. And remember, a result from an automated OSINT tool is not automatically proof of identity. Treat the result as a lead, examine the source, and verify important findings using independent, publicly available information. That's one of the most important habits in real OSINT investigations. Email verification. This tool will give us some useful details and can also indicate whether the email address appears to exist. And this is one of the first steps in email investigation. Verify the email first. Before moving toward deeper investigation, we need to establish whether the email address is actually valid or associated with an account. Once we've verified the email, we can move on to the next stage of our investigation. For example, depending on the type of investigation and the information we already have, we can use tools such as the Harvester to search for publicly available contacts and information associated with an organization or company. The important thing is to work step by step. First, verify the email, then investigate the information associated with it. Now, let's move on to our second tool. GHunt. Our second tool is GHunt. GHunt is an OSINT tool designed to gather publicly available information associated with Google accounts and Gmail addresses. It can provide useful information that can help us understand the public footprint associated with an email address. Let's see how to set it up. First, go to the official GitHub repository, https://github.com/xarch-GHunt, clone the repository and install its required dependencies. For a cleaner setup, I recommend installing the dependencies inside a Python virtual environment or venv so that the project's packages remain isolated from the rest of your system. Once the setup is complete, install the GHunt companion extension in Firefox and pin the extension so that it is easily accessible from your browser toolbar. Now we can run GHunt login. The tool will provide you with different login options. Select option 2. In my case, this option may not appear because I've already completed the authentication process. Now open your browser and click on the GHunt companion extension icon. You'll see an option related to the authentication code. Click the 64 base 64 button and the required code will be copied. Now return to the terminal and paste that code into GHunt. Once the authentication process is completed, GHunt will be ready to use. And now that our setup is complete, let's move on to our first GHunt example and see what kind of information it can provide. Using GHunt with an email address, now let's try our first GHunt command, GHunt email target email.com. This command searches for publicly available information associated with the Gmail address and returns whatever information GHunt can discover from its supported sources. The exact information you receive can vary depending on the account, Google's current services, privacy settings, and what information is publicly accessible. So don't expect every Gmail address to return the same amount of information. This is an important concept in OSINT. The tool can only work with the information that is available to it. BSSID investigation GHunt also provides a BSSID related option. Before using it, let's understand what a BSSID actually is. BSSID stands for Basic Service Set Identifier. In a typical Wi-Fi network, the BSSID is generally the MAC address associated with the wireless access point. It can be used to identify a particular wireless network interface or access point. However, one important correction. A BSID is not automatically a person's exact location, and it does not directly reveal someone's GPS coordinates. Location databases can sometimes associate Wi-Fi access points with approximate geographic locations because devices and services have collected Wi-Fi network information over time. So if you already have a BSSID and a legitimate reason to investigate it, certain services or databases may be able to provide an approximate location associated with that access point. The GHunt syntax for the BSSID option is GHunt EBSID targeted. Keep in mind that the availability and accuracy of this information can vary significantly. So again, treat any location returned from such a lookup as a lead that needs independent verification, not as guaranteed real-time or exact location information. Username investigation. Now let's move to our next tool. For username investigation, you can also use a tool like Sherlock. Sherlock is useful for quickly checking whether a username appears on different platforms, but automated username enumeration is not always perfect. It can produce false positives, miss accounts, or find usernames that belong to completely different people. So for this demonstration, we're going to look at another username searching tool. Open HTTPS, download anything, Jo3P, or username finder, go to the website and enter your target username. The tool will search across the services supported by it and show you potential accounts associated with that username. But remember, a matching username does not automatically mean that all those accounts belong to the same person. You still need to manually verify the results by comparing publicly available information such as profile names, profile pictures, biographies, linked websites, posting patterns, or other independent indicators. That's the difference between simply finding an account and actually performing an OSINT investigation. And that's where we're going to end today's episode. I had planned to include a few more techniques and resources in this video, but some of them aren't suitable for a public YouTube tutorial because of platform guidelines and the way those techniques could be misused. So instead of removing the research completely, I've kept the additional educational resources on my website where you can explore the material and practice the concepts responsibly. Today we covered an important part of OSINT: email verification, Gmail-based investigation, BSSID concepts, and username enumeration. But remember, OSINT isn't about blindly trusting what a tool gives you. The real skill is knowing how to find information, connect different pieces of evidence, verify your findings, and understand the limitations of every tool you use. That's what we're going to continue learning throughout this series. If you're enjoying the series and finding these practical techniques useful, please support the channel by subscribing, liking the video, and commenting on the topics you'd like to see next. A lot of research and effort goes into collecting, testing, and presenting these techniques in a practical way, so your support genuinely helps. I'll see you in the next episode. Keep learning, keep researching, verify everything, and always use OSINT responsibly.